Okay, so far we've blamed the apps a little, we've blamed the algorithm a little, we've blamed endless choices, we've blamed unrealistic expectations, we've blamed ourselves, we've blamed other people. At this point, everybody has gotten a little blame pushed their way. But here's another possibility. Maybe part of the reason dating feels broken is because nobody is completely sure what the rules are anymore. Think about it. Dating used to have rules. Now, I'm not saying they were good rules, and I'm definitely not saying we should bring all of them back. Some of those rules can stay buried exactly where we found them. But there were expectations, especially in heterosexual dating. The men were generally expected to approach. The men were asked. The men asked for the date. The men picked the women up. The man paid. Relationships follow a fairly predictable path: dating, going steady, engagement, and then marriage. Again, I'm simplifying a lot of history here. Not everybody lived that way, and gay people certainly weren't sitting around enjoying some wonderful traditional dating system. For a pretty significant chunk of history, our dating advice was basically try not to get arrested. So I'm not romanticizing the past, but I don't think there was something different. People generally understood what society expected them to do. Today, we've changed a lot of those expectations, and in many ways, that's a good thing. Women don't have to sit around waiting for a man to make the first move. Men don't necessarily have to pay for everything. People can decide what kind of relationship works for them. Marriage isn't automatically everybody's goal anymore. Some people want children, some don't. Some people want traditional roles, some don't. Some people want monogamy. Others structure relationships differently. We've created more freedom, but freedom creates something else: choices. There's that word again. And when everybody gets to choose their own rules, sometimes two people show up for the same date playing completely different games. Take something as simple as paying for dinner. Yeah, something as simple as paying for dinner. Who pays? The person who asked? The man? Split it? Take turns? One person gets dinner and the other person gets drinks? This isn't necessarily one universally accepted answer anymore. And depending on who you're dating, whatever you choose might be interpreted as saying something about you. If you have to pay, maybe that's respectful, maybe it's old-fashioned, maybe it's expected, maybe it's an insult. Apparently, we're going to need a meeting before we order the damn appetizer. And I know some of the straight people watching this are probably thinking, welcome to our world, Mark. And fair enough. I will not, yeah. This is one of those places where I need that different shovel. Because gay dating has its own confusions, but we don't have that exact same man pays for the woman traditional built into the date. Although, trust me, two men can find plenty of other things to make complicated. We're not sitting over here with dating figured out. Did you watch the first 3 acts there? But paying isn't the only rules that change. We make who makes the first move? How long should you wait before texting after a date? Remember that one? Don't call too soon. You don't want to look desperate. So apparently, the strategy for showing someone you're interested was pretending you weren't interested. Dating has always been a little weird, but now we've added even more questions. When are you officially dating? When are you exclusive? Do you delete the app? Is talking to somebody considered okay? Is flirting online cheating? Is somebody liking someone's picture a problem? What about messaging exes? What point does each see each other become, or what point do they see themselves as a couple? And here's a really important one. Does the other person know you've reached that point? Because you might be sitting there thinking, we've been dating for 6 weeks. Meanwhile, they're telling their friends, I've been hanging out with this person. Those are two very different status updates. And maybe that's part of what's happening. We have more freedom than previous generations had to define relationships for ourselves. That's good. But that freedom also means we have to communicate those expectations. We can't always assume anymore. Maybe we never should have in the first place. Because if I'm following my dating rules and you're following your dating rules, neither one of us necessarily has to be wrong, but we're still going to have a problem if we never tell each other what those rules are. And here's where I think the internet sometimes makes this worse, because everybody has advice. Dating coaches, relationship experts, podcasts, TikTok, YouTube, friends, family, that person at work who's been divorced 4 times, but somehow has very strong opinions about how relationships should work. Everybody has rules. Never text first, always text first. Make them chase you. Don't play games. Know your worth. Lower your expectations. Never settle. Relationships require compromise. Okay. Which one is it? And maybe there isn't one answer. Who the hell knows? Maybe that's the uncomfortable part, because we're looking for rules for something involving 2 individual human beings, 2 people with different histories, different expectations, boundaries, different experiences, different ideas about what a relationship is supposed to look like. And somehow we're expecting a dating guru on the internet to give us the universal instruction manual. Remember those instruction manuals from Act 1? Apparently, we're still not reading them. Maybe the solution isn't getting everybody to follow the same dating rules. Maybe it's making sure the person we're dating knows our rules and we understand theirs. What are you looking for? What am I looking for? What does commitment mean to you? What are your boundaries? What are mine? What are we actually doing here? Those conversations aren't very romantic. Nobody puts that on a Valentine's Day card. Roses are red, violets are blue. Let's clearly define our relationship expectations before one of us misunderstands what the other person is trying to do. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue very well there, but maybe those conversations matter more than some of the romantic stuff. Because maybe dating isn't broken because we throw away the old rules. Maybe some of those rules needed to go in the first place. Maybe dating feels more broken because we're living in the period after the old rules while we're still figuring out the new ones. And maybe there isn't going to be one new rule book. Maybe the only rule book that matters is the one 2 people agree to write together. Okay. This is where I'm going to need the other shovel again, because we're going to talk about heterosexual dating. And as I've already established, I have absolutely no firsthand experience here. So I'm not going to sit here as a gay man and explain to straight men and straight women how straight dating works. That seems like an excellent way to get corrected in the comments. So instead, I did some digging. And here's what I found interesting. Straight men are frustrated with dating. Straight women are frustrated with dating. Mind-blowing, I know. But they're not necessarily frustrated for the same reasons. And sometimes they're looking at the same problem from completely opposite sides. Let's start with something as basic as getting attention on dating apps. Research from Pew found something really interesting. Women using dating apps were much more likely to say they sometimes felt overwhelmed by the number of messages they received. Men, they were more likely to say they felt insecure because they weren't receiving enough messages. Think about that for a second. One side is saying too many, the other side is saying, where is everybody? And somehow they're supposed to find each other. That's like having one restaurant complaining that they have too many customers and another restaurant across the street wondering why nobody's came in. Same street, completely different Tuesday night. And I think this is important because if you're standing on one side, the other person's complaints might sound ridiculous. A guy who's getting very few responses might hear a woman complain that she's getting too many messages and think, that's your problem. Meanwhile, a woman sorting through a pile of messages might hear a guy complaining that nobody responds and thinks maybe there's a reason for that. And now everybody's mad. But dig one layer deeper and both complaints can be real. Because getting attention isn't necessarily the same thing as getting good attention. And getting very little attention can make you start wondering what's wrong with you. Those are different experiences, but neither one sounds particularly fun. And then we get to safety. This is one of those places where the experience of men and women can be very, very different. A lot of women aren't just asking, do I like this person? They're also asking, do I feel safe meeting this person? Where are we meeting? Does somebody know where I am? Should I meet them there instead of letting them pick me up? Do I know enough about this person? What happens if they don't take no for an answer? And those concerns aren't coming out of nowhere. Women using online dating, especially younger women, report unwanted sexual messages, continued contact after saying they're not interested, insults, and even threats at a higher rate than men ever have. And I think that's something men can sometimes have trouble fully understanding, because a man might be preparing for a first date thinking, I hope she likes me. And she might also be thinking, I hope I like him. But somewhere in the back of her mind, there can be another question. Am I safe? That's a very different weight to carry into a date. Now, does that mean men don't have things to worry about? Of course not. Remember, we're digging, not picking teams here. Because there's another experience you hear from a lot of men: rejection. If you're still operating in a dating culture where men are often expected to make the first move, the man can end up experiencing rejection over and over and over again. Send the message, no response. Send another one, no response. Match. If you're on Tinder, you get a match. This person matches with you. Send a message, no response. Finally, they get a conversation going and they're ghosted. Try again. And after all of that, it's not hard to imagine somebody thinking, what's wrong with me? And here's where this gets really interesting, because from the women's side, she might be exhausted from sorting through messages, trying to figure out who is actually worth responding to, and maybe dealing with people who became angry when she doesn't respond. From the man's side, he's starting at an empty inbox, or he's staring at an empty inbox. Could somebody just respond? Both people can be miserable for completely opposite reasons. Dating is talented like that. It'll get both people pissed off for different reasons. And it apparently found a way to disappoint everybody equally using completely different methods. Then there's making the first move. Who does it? Some women say, I don't mind approaching men. Others prefer the man to approach them. Some men like being approached. Some men feel like they're still expected to initiate everything. And then there's another problem. How do you know somebody wants to be approached? Because we've spent years having important conversations about respecting boundaries. Good. We should. But that can also leave somebody thinking, I'd like to talk to her, but I don't want to make her uncomfortable. Meanwhile, maybe she's thinking, why won't he come talk to me? Ladies and gentlemen, we have achieved communication without actually communicating. And then, because apparently this wasn't complicated enough, we get to paying for the date. Who pays? Some people still believe the man should pay. Some believe whoever asked should pay. Some think you should split the bill. Couples take turns. Women want the man to pay. Other women don't want somebody thinking they're paying for dinner means they're owed something afterwards. And some men are sitting there thinking, I don't care. Can somebody just tell me the rules before the check gets here? Because remember what we talked about in 4A. There isn't one rule book anymore. And I don't necessarily think that's bad, but it means two people can walk into the same exact date with completely different expectations. He thinks paying is respectful. She thinks splitting is respectful. Neither one necessarily did anything wrong. They just showed up with different instructions. And apparently, once again, nobody read the instruction manual. Then there's commitment. What are we looking for? A relationship, something casual, marriage, kids, no kids? Let's see where this goes. and here's another place where the internet can make everything look much simpler than it actually is. Because if you've spent enough time online, you'll eventually find somebody explaining why men don't want to commit. And then 3 videos later, someone will explain women don't want commitment. Apparently, nobody wants commitment, which raises an interesting question about who all these people getting married every year are. Maybe, just maybe, men aren't one giant person, and women also aren't one giant person. I know we're making groundbreaking discoveries today. Some men want marriage, some don't. Some women want marriage, some don't. Some people want children, some don't. Some people are looking for a lifelong relationship. Some people are looking for Friday night. The problem isn't necessarily that people want different things. The problem is when two people want different things and don't tell each other. Or worse, when they do tell each other and one person thinks, I can change their mind. There's another shovel we probably shouldn't pick up. But here's the part that really got my attention while I was digging into straight dating. There are very real differences between what men and women can experience. A woman worried about her safety isn't experiencing the same problem as a man who's gone weeks without getting a meaningful response. A man feeling constant rejection isn't experiencing the same problem as a woman feeling overwhelmed by unwanted attention. They're different, and I don't think we help anybody by pretending they're the same. But underneath those different problems, there might be something remarkably similar. Both sides want to feel wanted. Both sides want to feel respected. Both sides want to feel safe enough to be themselves. Both sides want somebody who's honest about what they're looking for. And both sides can get really tired of trying. In fact, dating app burnout is something researchers have actually measured. People report getting exhausted by the swiping, the repetitive conversations, the disappointment, the rejection, and consistently trying to make another connection. Which makes sense because imagine doing this over and over. Hi. What do you do? What do you do? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? 3 days later, Nothing. Start over. Hi. Hi. What do you do? Eventually, you start feeling like you're a working customer service. Thank you for contacting Mark's dating department. Your romantic interest is very important to us. Please stay on the line, and the next emotional available representative will be with you shortly. And after enough disappointments, something else can happen. People become defensive. Men start saying women are the problem. Women start saying men are the problem. Then the internet takes those frustrated people, puts them into separate little corners, and starts feeding each side videos explaining why they were right all along. We all know how it works. And now we're not trying to understand the person sitting across from us anymore. We're trying to figure out which side they're on. And maybe that's where dating becomes something it was never supposed to be. A competition. Men versus women. Who has it harder? Who ruined dating? Who has unrealistic expectation? Who needs to change? But what if that's the wrong question? What if both sides have legitimate complaints? Because their experiences, or they're experiencing different parts of the same broken system. That doesn't mean every complaint is automatically valid. It doesn't mean every man is right. It doesn't mean every woman is right. It means maybe we should actually listen to what the other side is experiencing before deciding their experience doesn't count. Because here's what I've learned digging into this as somebody standing outside the heterosexual dating scene. You people have made this very complicated. But before I get too comfortable over here laughing at the straight people, I should probably put my own shovel back into the ground. Because gay dating, we've got our own mess. Different rules, different problems, different pool. But I'm starting to suspect when we get underneath all of it, we're going to find some of the exact same things buried down there. So straight people, you can put the shovel down for a minute. It's our turn. Now, gay dating. Let's just say we've got both sides covered here. Remember everything we just talked about with straight dating? The man's side, the women's side. Yeah, we get both. We've got men dating men. So whatever problems men bring into dating, congratulations. Sometimes we get two of them. And lesbians, I haven't forgotten about lesbians. I haven't forgotten about you. Women dating women. So some of those frustrations we just talked about from the women's side, again, in the pair. Apparently, the LGBT community heard about dating problems and said, we'll take the combo meal. Now, obviously, I'm having some fun with that. Gay dating isn't just straight dating with, gender rearrangement. There are two things about dating as a gay person that are completely different. And since I'm a gay man, this time I don't need the other shovel. This one I've actually used. And probably the first difference is something straight people don't always have to think about. Before I can worry about whether a guy is interested in me, there's another question I sometimes have to answer first. Is he even gay? Now, this is where something called gaydar is supposed to come in. And if you've never heard the term before, gaydar is basically the idea that gay people can somehow just know when somebody else is gay. Nobody tells you. There's no sign, no membership card. You just look at somebody and think, Yep. At least that's how gaydar is supposed to work, because let me tell you, there are some gay people out there who desperately need to take their gaydar in for warranty work. That thing is broken. They've walked around like, oh, he's definitely gay. No, he's not. Your gaydar needs recalibrated. Take it back to the dealership. And the opposite happens too. There is no way he's gay. But 3 months later, he's introducing you to his boyfriend. Well, apparently somebody's radar system was experiencing technical difficulties there. Gaydar isn't actually some magical ability. It usually just us picking up on little things, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, and sometimes we're very wrong, but sometimes we're actually right on point, which means when you see an attractive guy across the room, your brain starts working. Gay, straight, bi, maybe. He is, we justify, well, he is wearing really nice shoes. No, we're not using that as evidence today. So before I even get to, is he interested in me? Sometimes I've got to get through is he even interested in men? And that's one reason dating apps solved a really big problem for the gay people. At least everybody is theoretically shopping in the same, in the correct departments. No gaydar required, although some of you should probably still get yours serviced. It's under warranty, so just get it serviced. And depending on where you live, that matters, because our dating pool is smaller. That's just math. Dating apps don't just give gay people more choices. In some places, they give us a practical way to find each other. But you knew there was going to be a but here. Finding each other did not mean we suddenly figured out dating, because once you've established, yes, we're both gay, congratulations, you've unlocked everything else. Attraction, compatibility, relationship goals, communication, trust, commitment, politics, lifestyle, age, distance. and then there's that question, what exactly are you looking for? A relationship, something casual, friends with benefits, and somebody's profile might say looking for friends, and apparently we need to define friends, because the word is doing a lot of work on some profiles. And okay, let's address the elephant in the room. I think this is a good time to address the elephant in the room. Some of these dating apps these days, well, we all know they're not always used for dating. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what I'm talking about, so I'm just going to leave that shovel sitting right there. Nothing wrong with looking for something casual if everybody involved knows that's what they're looking for. Nothing wrong with looking for a relationship. The problem is when two people want completely different things and nobody says it. Sound familiar? Different dating pool, same damn problem. Then we get to appearance. Oh boy, remember our perfect person checklist? Gay men have absolutely played that game too, to the extreme. Height, weight, age, body type, hair, no hair, beard, no beard, muscle, slim. Oh, the gay community has maxed that one out. We've got the heterosexual community beat by a long shot. Ladies, we've got you beat. And sometimes profiles become very specific about exactly who is welcome to send a message. Now again, people are allowed to be attracted to whoever they're attracted to. You can't force attraction. I said that myself earlier. But there's a difference between this is generally what I'm attracted to and specifications so precise, you're apparently ordering a replacement part for a fucking washing machine. Must be 5'10" and 6'2", manufactured after 1987, compatible with existing hardware. Sir, you're looking for a boyfriend, not an alternator. And since I just mentioned age, it's story time. So, I'm on this dating app. I'm looking around, and to be completely honest or truthful, I'm not really sure what I was looking for that night. Again, we've already addressed the elephant in the room. Let's just keep moving here. And I come across this profile. This guy, way, way younger than me. We're talking like, I think like 23 years younger than me. And normally, I probably wouldn't have, I probably would have just kept going. But for some reason, I couldn't stop looking at his picture. There was just something about him. So I read his profile. Then I swiped to the next guy. And then swiped right back to him. Apparently, my thumb had made a decision, and the rest of me hadn't caught up yet. Now, anybody who knows me knows I rarely make the first move. I've always had this thing where I worry that I'm bothering somebody. But this time, I did it. I sent him a message. And he responded. And let me tell you, my heart started pounding out of my chest. Apparently, sending a message on dating apps has suddenly become a cardiovascular exercise. I don't know what was wrong with me. I mean, my heart just started pounding like crazy. So we talked, not for 5 minutes, not just for one night. We talked for a few weeks. And eventually, I got up enough nerve to ask him on a date. I know, actually asking somebody out on a date, what the hell was I thinking? But he said yes. Heart pitter-pattering. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So we went out and eventually we started dating. And for about 3 months, I was happier than I had ever been in my entire life. The first time I looked into his eyes, I was totally his. I fell in love with him the moment I looked in his eyes. And I really, truly cared about him. That wasn't some profile anymore. That wasn't swiping. That wasn't a checklist. This was a person I had fallen in love with. Love at first sight. I'm a true believer in it now. And then one day I went to pick him up. We were supposed to spend our days off together. I thought we were about to have a great weekend. And instead, he dropped a bomb on me. He was crying and he told me, I'm breaking up with you. I didn't know what to say. I was speechless. Probably because I was afraid that if I said something, if I tried to speak, I would just start, bawling myself. That wasn't exactly how I was hoping to start my weekend. And that was it. It ended. Yes, I did cry for about a month every day and stuff about it. But later, after talking to some people, I learned that other people had been talking to him about our age difference. He had been told that because I was older, I must be using him, that I could be dangerous, that he needed to date somebody closer to his age. And that hurt because nobody asked me what I felt. Nobody had been inside our relationship. Nobody knew what happened when it was just the two of us. I'd fallen in love with him, and I still remember the first time I looked into his eyes. And honestly, I would have to tell you, I am still in love with him. But to some people looking from the outside, the age difference told them everything they needed to know. Older, younger, therefore something must be wrong. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not saying age differences can never matter. They can. People at different stages of life can want completely different things. There can be different experiences, money, power, expectations, future plans. Those are legit things for two people in a relationship to talk about. But here's what I'm digging at. When did everybody outside the relationship get to decide what two consenting adults inside the relationship are allowed to feel? There's another line. And I didn't tell you, this story because I wanted everybody to sitting there, saying, oh, poor Mark, let's feel sorry for Mark. That's not the point. It happened, it hurt, life went on. Maybe if it was meant to be, we'll be together one day. I told you because there's another part of dating we haven't really talked about. Other people. Friends, family, the community, social media. Everybody has an opinion about who you should date. Too old, too young, too tall, too short, too fat, too thin, wrong career, wrong politics, wrong background, wrong whatever. And sometimes those outside voices can be useful if the people who love you are seeing something dangerous that you can't see. Maybe you should listen. Remember, we're looking at both sides here. But there's also a difference between someone saying, I'm worried about how this person treats you, and someone saying, I've decided this relationship is wrong because it doesn't look like the relationship I would choose. Those are not necessarily the same thing. And while my story happened in gay dating, I'm pretty sure straight people watching this know exactly what I'm talking about too. Parents who don't approve, friends who don't approve, people who think somebody isn't attractive enough for you, successful enough, they're not young enough, old enough, whatever enough. Different dating pools, same outside voices. And maybe that's another part of dating that's always been complicated. You're not always just dating another person. Sometimes it feels like you're dating everybody else's opinion of that person too. And because the gay dating community can be smaller, those circles can overlap. Your ex might know the person you're talking to. Your friend might have dated them. Your ex, I've had that problem before, by the way. Your ex might know your ex. Someone knows somebody who knows somebody. Eventually, you need one of those detective boards with pictures and red string. He dated him, who dated him, who knows him, who dated my ex. Apparently, I'm not looking for a relationship anymore. I'm investigating a conspiracy. And underneath all the jokes, something starts sounding familiar. People want attention. People get too much attention. Others don't get enough. People get rejected. People get ghosted. People misrepresent themselves. People have unrealistic expectation. People get hurt. People become defensive. People get tired of trying. Wait a minute. Did we just talk about this? Because yes, straight dating is different. Gay dating is different. Lesbian dating is different. Bisexual dating is different. Sexual orientation absolutely changes parts of the experience. But maybe it doesn't change the human part nearly as much as we think. Because underneath all those differences, most people are trying to answer some version of the same questions. Do you like me? Can I trust you? Are you actually who you say you are? Do you want the same thing? Are you going to respect me? Can I be myself around you? And maybe, if we're lucky, could we actually build something together? Different dating pool, different rules, different experiences, different problems. But underneath all of it, we're still people trying to connect with other people. And people have always been complicated. So maybe dating isn't broken because men are the problem. Maybe dating isn't broken because women are the problem. Maybe dating isn't broken because gay people date differently. Dating isn't broken because straight people can't figure out who should pay for dinner. Although you all really should figure that out. It's kind of making the rest of us nervous here. So figure out who's going to pay dinner. Maybe we're starting to uncover something else. Maybe dating feels broken because we're expecting something involving two imperfect human beings to somehow work perfectly. And that might be the deepest hole we've hit yet. Okay, we've been digging for a while, and this rabbit hole was deep. I apologize for the length of this, but this rabbit hole was deep. Although I think dating has always been a pretty deep rabbit hole, we've just given the rabbit Wi-Fi. So let's go back to the question we started with. Is dating broken? Well, yes. And no. I know after all that digging, that's my answer. Now hear me out. Because we've uncovered some things that really are broken. Dating apps aren't perfect. I know that personally. Apparently one of them thought my soulmate required international travel. We have algorithms trying to decide who we're compatible with. We have profiles people don't bother reading. We have endless swiping, ghosting, dating app burnout, people misrepresenting themselves, pictures from 12 years ago or possibly the late Cretaceous period. We've got pictures photoshopped to unearthly proportions. We've got people looking for the perfect person. We've got straight people trying to figure out who pays for dinner. You guys really, really need to figure that out. We've got gay people trying to figure out if the guy is even gay to begin with. Gaydar says yes. Warranty department says bring it on in. We've got too many choices, not enough choices. Too many messages, not enough messages. People afraid to make the first move. People worried why nobody makes the first move. People looking for relationships. People looking for something casual. And apparently, some people looking for friends. Whatever the hell that means anymore. We've got different rules, different expectations, different dating pools, different sexual orientations, different generations, different ideas about what a relationship is even supposed to look like. So yes, parts of modern dating are absolutely a mess. But then we kept digging, and underneath the apps, we found people. Imperfect, complicated, confusing, sometimes completely ridiculous people. And that's where I started wondering how much of this is actually new, because dating apps didn't invent rejection. People got rejected before smartphones. Dating apps didn't invent lying. People lied about themselves before profile pictures. Dating apps didn't invent unrealistic expectations. People have always been looking for Prince Charming, and the perfect woman, for a long time, men have been looking for that. Ghosting, okay, we may have made that one significantly more efficient, but people disappearing from somebody's life without explanation, that's not exactly a 21st century invention either. Jealousy isn't new. Heartbreak isn't new. Bad communication isn't new. Being attracted to somebody who's terrible for you, definitely not new. Friends having opinions about who you're dating, that's definitely not new. Parents disapproving, Very, very, very not new. People wanting different things from relationships, that's not new. Maybe technology didn't create all of these problems. Maybe it amplified some of them. It gives us more people to choose from. Maybe more ways to communicate, more ways to ignore each other, more ways to compare, more ways to present ourselves, more way to misrepresent ourselves, more ways to find somebody, and more ways to convince ourselves somebody might be better one swipe away. Technology changed the scale, it changed the speed, it changed the access, but I'm not sure it changed us. Because underneath all of it, we're still trying to do something humans have struggled with forever. Find another person who likes us, who we're attracted to, who we're compatible with, who wants roughly the same thing we want, who can tolerate our weird habits, and whose weird habits we can tolerate. Somebody we trust, somebody we respect us, somebody we can laugh with, somebody we can argue with without destroying each other. Somebody who sees our imperfections and still decides, yeah, I'll take this one. And when you think about it, that's asking a lot. Not because our standards are necessarily too high, but because relationships involve two people, and one person is complicated enough. Put two of us together, good luck. Maybe that's why I don't completely buy the idea that there was some magical time when dating was easy. Maybe it looks easier when we look backward, but people still had bad dates. People still married the wrong person. People still got their hearts broken. People still cheated, lied, stayed in a relationship they shouldn't have. People still missed opportunities with somebody who might have been wonderful. They just couldn't make a 3-minute TikTok afterwards explaining why an entire gender was responsible for it. And maybe that's another thing technology changed. We don't just experience dating anymore. We comment on dating consistently. We have videos telling women what's wrong with men, videos telling men what's wrong with women, videos telling everybody why they should never settle, videos telling everybody their standards are too high. And after watching enough of it, you start walking into a date already suspicious of the person sitting across from you. Not because of something they did, but because of what somebody on the internet told you. People like to do that. And maybe that's one of the deepest things we've uncovered. When dating becomes men versus women, gay versus straight, young versus old, traditional versus modern, we can forget something pretty basic. You're not dating a group. You're dating a person. That woman sitting across from you isn't women. That man sitting across from you isn't men. The gay person isn't the gay community. The straight person isn't straight people. They're one person with their own history, their own experiences, their own fears, their own flaws, their own idea of what love is supposed to look like. And maybe we should get to know that person before deciding who they are. Because remember what we talked about earlier. Profiles aren't people. Pictures aren't people. Checklists aren't people. Algorithms aren't people. And neither are stereotypes. So is dating broken? I think parts are. I think some of the technology we built to make dating easier has accidentally made part of dating harder. I think endless choices can make people look disposable. I think social media can make ordinary relationships look inadequate. I think some apps make human beings feel like products we're shopping for. But dating itself, maybe dating isn't broken. Maybe dating is just hard. Because trusting someone is hard, being vulnerable is hard, getting rejected is hard, rejecting somebody without hurting them is hard, compromising is hard, learning another person is hard, letting another person learn you is hard. And sometimes you can do everything right and it still doesn't work. I know that one personally, but here's the part I don't want us to miss. Sometimes it does work. People still meet, people still fall in love, people still build lives together, sometimes through an app, sometimes through friends, sometimes at work, or completely by accident. And apparently, every once in a while, even Bob gets a date. Good for you, Bob. Good for you. We were getting a little worried there, but good for you, Bob. So maybe the goal isn't figuring out how to make dating perfect. Maybe it's remembering that the person on the other side is just as imperfect as we are. Maybe we give somebody enough of a chance to surprise us without ignoring the things we generally shouldn't accept. Maybe we know the difference between a preference and a requirement, between a flaw and a red flag, between compromise and settling, between presenting your best self and presenting a different self. And maybe instead of us asking what's wrong with dating, every once in a while we ask, what am I bringing into it? Because if we're going to complain about everyone else's checklist, maybe, just maybe, we should probably take a look at our own. And if we're going to ask somebody else to accept our imperfections, maybe, just maybe, we should think about which imperfections we're willing to accept in them. Not to tell you who to date, not to tell you what standards to have, and definitely not to tell you what you should tolerate. I mean, heck, I'm just a guy with a mental shovel trying to figure this stuff out myself. But after digging through this whole mess, I don't think we found a broken dating system with one simple thing we can fix. I think we found people, and people are messy. People are complicated. People make mistakes. People get scared. People get hurt. People hurt other people. I know that personally. But people also connect. And maybe that's why we keep trying. Even when the rabbit hole is this deep. So after everything we've dug up today, the apps, the profiles, the algorithm, the checklist, the red flags, the different rules, the different expectations, and all the ways we somehow managed to make something that was already complicated even more complicated, I think we can safely say dating is a battlefield. But I want to leave you with one thought. Never let somebody else tell you who you should date. Now, if somebody who cares about you sees that you're being hurt, if they see something dangerous, something you might not be able to see yourself because love is blind, maybe listen to them. That's different. But don't let somebody tell you that the person you care about is wrong for you simply because they wouldn't choose them. Don't let them tell you the person's too old, too young, too tall, too short, wrong job, wrong background, wrong politics, not attractive enough, not successful enough, not whatever enough. Because while everybody else is standing outside your relationship, deciding what they think it should look like, you might have something standing right in front of you that most people spend their entire lives trying to find. Someone you love, and someone who will love you back. That's pretty hard to put on a checklist. And maybe that's the final thing we need to dig up today. There was an ambulance or something driving by that grabbed my attention. Dating might be a battlefield, but love isn't about finding somebody everybody else approves of. It's about finding somebody who's right for you. Not to tell you what to think. Again, not to tell you who to date. I'm not telling you any of this stuff. Heck, again, I'm just a guy with a mental shovel digging into life, same as everybody else. And clearly, we've got a lot more digging to do. So, let's keep digging.